What's up, Cloud Gamers? Welcome to another episode of CGX Cast. This is the Cloud Gaming Podcast. As you can see, the panel is a little bit different today. We're missing some people, but hopefully they're going to be back. If you guys didn't know, I don't know if I update you guys, but there's going to be a switch with panel members. You guys weren't aware, Mark from Mark Watts VLG has some stuff going on. So we're gonna switch Mark with Gamer TV. That change is going to happen next podcast. So be prepared for that. And we have Duncan who can't make it today, has family over, so he's gonna be busy with that as well. But again, this is the panel we have. We're gonna get right into it here in a bit. Let's just talk about some of the things that we're going to be covering. So Google Stadia every Tuesday, as you guys know, they hold their Tuesday updates, right? So we got 2 games coming to the platform. We're going to talk about that. Also, Resident Evil 8 they held a little press conference, and we found out that a demo was coming to Google Stadia May 1st, and then the game, we found out the resolution. So we'll talk about that too. Good stuff for Google Stadia. Amazon Luna got 1 game. We're going to talk about that. And we just heard some major news about game development for Amazon Game Studios. And so we'll kind of talk about that game and what's going on with that as well. We have some news with Shadow. Just a quick update with the bankruptcy issue. So we'll talk about that too. Xcloud, if you guys have been following, got some touch controls for more games. And we got 1 game that was released for the platform, so we'll talk about that as well. GeForce Now, 15 games coming out to the platform this week. We'll talk about that, see what the panel has to say about those games. But yeah, good stuff, a lot to talk about this week. Even though it's a slow week, there's still some cloud gaming news to talk about. So I just want to take a sec to introduce the panel here. We got some awesome people. We got 2 guests today, Vet and Bryant. Thank you guys for being a part of today's episode, for sure. So let's check in with the panel. Yeah, see what you guys have been doing, see what you've been playing. So to get started, Jerry, how have you been, sir? What have you been playing? What platform have you been using to play those games on?
I'm doing good. So I haven't got the game a lot, but I have continued SpongeBob on Stadia just because I like to jump into that every now and then. And Outriders, of course. I mean, I'm just still trying to get through. I'm not anywhere near where everybody else I know is at. I think I'm only like level 18, and I'm still making my way through, but I just don't get enough time to jump on. And that's been also because I'm doing 2 accounts. So I'm doing my Xbox Series X and a little bit of Xcloud for Outriders and GeForce Now, messing around with it over there. It seems to, performance is getting better the longer the game's out over there,
So why do you have 2 accounts? Why are you grinding 2 accounts?
See, we need cross progression really soon for Outriders because I own it everywhere that you can own it, and
Right.
I just need it. And so sometimes I want to jump on my Shield TV Pro and game, and xCloud does not work well there, especially at the 720p. So I'll jump on GeForce Now and play. I'm maining my Xbox Series X, so that's where I'm really putting in the time. But every now and then I jump over on GeForce Now to see how it's doing, or play it on my TV, mess around with it there.
Cool. Good to have you on, Jerry. Appreciate that. Let's check in with Vet, man. How are you, sir? How is
Doing-
it being a
doing
guest
good.
here today?
It's
Good,
awesome.
good.
I've been waiting. I know we've been back and forth trying to get me
Yeah,
on here, so
yeah.
it was. And I know you had a spot once before, and I don't know, must have had something going on. I was like, all right, I'm doing
Yeah.
it this time.
So just to give Vet a shout out, man, this was a Hail Mary pass, and he caught the ball last minute and said yes to it. So again, appreciate having you on here. But just tell the members, what game have you been playing? What platform have you been using? And also, how have you been doing as well?
Most of what I've been playing is I've been alternating between Stadia, and a lot of what I end up doing on Stadia, even though I have a massive catalog of games, is Red Dead Redemption. Although I have been diving more into Ghost Recon Wildlands, I've been enjoying that way more than I forgot how much I actually liked that game. And then I've been doing some PS Now as well. Just diving in through the catalog of games there because there's tons of stuff that I just haven't played in years or even played. And then I did a show yesterday, I believe it was, for GeForce Now, because I was playing some Postal 4. I actually bought it on Steam and had it installed, and then I saw that it was out there, and I had a lot of fun with that one.
That's cool.
So
Postal 4. That game sounds pretty good, right? From what I remember.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of blood and violence, and they're I think my 3-year-old was in the background, so
Oh
they're
no.
cheering me on. So if you catch the stream or you didn't get a chance to and you rewatch it, you may hear my son in the background telling me things to do that some people may frown upon. It's never good when your 3-year-old's telling you to pee on somebody.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. By the way, just wanted I was talking to Vet earlier. He did a stream this morning with Ray, Ghost Recon, Breakpoint, Wildlands. Was it Wildlands or Breakpoint?
Yeah, Wildlands. Yep,
Wildlands.
Wildlands.
Okay. Yeah, one of the funniest stream, man. If you guys haven't checked out that stream, go check it out, man. You'll laugh so hard. But good stuff. Vet, it's good to have you on, man. It's good to have
Good
you.
to be here.
For sure. Let's check in with Bryant, sir. How are you? Again, another guest. Thank you for being on here.
Yeah, no problem. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So just tell the members what game you've been playing, what platform, and also just how you doing today.
Yeah, this has been a busy week. I finally started Death Stranding on PlayStation.
Ooh.
So I had a project I was working on that I needed to beat that game, and I haven't beaten it, but that's a fun game.
Yeah.
Tested out PlayStation Now a little bit with some of the old PlayStation 3 games and stuff like that.
Right.
And then haven't played anything on Stadia this week. But I have been, and I had to double check, I could talk about this, but I have been able to be part of the Pi Packer beta, which is a new cloud gaming platform coming out. And their beta is going on this weekend, and we're going to have a video kind of talking about everything that's going on with it. But that's a really fun kind of different cloud gaming platform, I guess, in a way, because they allow you to number one, stream games to your friends. So like if you wanted to play Worms World Party, I could start streaming it from my computer and then send you guys a link, and you could come in and play multiplayer. So really cool concept and different kind of pull on it. And then they've got a Kickstarter starting next week that allows you to take retro cartridges, and if I understand this correctly, I apologize if I'm wrong, but you basically take your retro cartridges, plug it in there, and then you can stream those online and you can play multiplayer with your friends. So really kind of cool, different iteration of cloud gaming. And, I'm really interested to kind of see where they take that side of the platform.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to check that out when you get that video up. Sounds like good stuff. Cool. How about you, Holtz? What you been up to, sir? What have you been playing, and also what platform?
So I'm near the end of Dragon Quest. Was just grinding through it this week, so I'm about 3/4 through, a little bit more maybe, coming to the conclusion. So it's been fun, and I'm going to dive into something. I've been staying away from gaming because I've been seeing all like the bug fixes and then other bugs happening in Outriders. So I'm like, we'll give a few more weeks and I'll dive back in there. But another game that I wanted to play was Oddworld Soulstorm. I clicked download on my PlayStation 5, turned it off, went back, and then it just said no space available. And I was like, and I didn't want I don't want to delete nothing off my hard drive. So I went, I'll just have to finish some games before I actually play this. So I've restricted myself this week.
Okay. How many hours did you put in Dragon Quest?
I've got about 47. I'm not really going into like side quests. It goes, as RPGs do. But I'm looking about 55 hours, which is average.
Okay, wow. And you playing that on Stadia, right? From what I remember?
Stadia. I was originally playing it on Xcloud, but then I thought it might rotate out, but I'll play at the end. So I did push through it.
That's awesome. Cool. Good to have you, Holtz, for sure. Ben, sir, how are you? What have you been playing? What platform have you been using?
Let's see. I jumped back into Ghost Recon Breakpoint after about a month or two away. Did that for a couple hours this week. I played a little bit NHL 21 on Series X.
Okay.
Did a little bit of that new Rain on Your Parade Xcloud game.
I heard about it. Is it any good?
It's so much fun. It's kind of
Really?
cheesy and cute, but it's a lot of fun. I played it for longer than I'd like to admit, kind of like I did with SpongeBob last week. And then I did Outriders, of course.
Nice. Cool. Ben, it's always good to have you on here. And you said you might have to dip a little early, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
45 minutes to an hour probably.
Cool. Good to have you for sure. Chief, sir, how are you? What have you been playing? What platform? Your mic is muted. Still muted. Let me know when you get it up. All right, cool. All right, I'm gonna keep yapping until you get it fixed. But so I've been playing Stadia lately. It was funny, like I was texting the guys in Discord. It's just something when you're a content creator, you get so overwhelmed with, creating content and doing stuff for the channel that you actually just miss out on gaming, So yesterday, for the first time, I actually played Outriders, and I was like, holy crap, I've been missing out on this game, playing it on Stadia, and it was running pretty well and having a lot of fun with that. And then went back to playing NBA 2K, and that was a lot of fun too. But man, I put a check note to remind myself I got a game, right? That's why we create content, but sometimes we just get so lost into it. But yeah, good stuff overall for me, for sure. Chief, is your mic working yet?
You tell me.
Okay, there we go. So what that happens, man. What do you think that is? It seems to happen quite when we go live together.
There's always something, isn't it, when it's us two? But I was fiddling with USB earlier, so it's probably confused StreamYard because it switched my mic input on me. But yeah, anyway, hey guys, it's been a while. This week I've been diving back into Mortal Shell for the RTX update on GeForce Now.
Yeah.
Still hate that game. I'm no good at that game. I've repeated the same section about 10 times now and not managed to get past it. So that's definitely going in the bin. I mean, backlog for another long cold night somewhere. And I'm up to 50 hours on Outriders now. The full game. I just completed the main game or the main story yesterday. So I'm starting on the expeditions and I'm up to challenge tier 8. And it's now kicking my ass. So I need to go back and start some grinding and work on my skill builds. But I like my build. I'm a skill pyromancer, but I need some better gear now.
Nice.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoying it. I've been fortunate. I've not had any of the bugs. Had some of the disconnects. I had obviously couldn't do crossplay until the recent patch, but since the last patch, it's been absolutely flawless for me. But I'm playing that on PC locally, so had to use the RTX 3080 on that one.
Nice, man. So envious of y'all putting in the hours in that game, man. How is the story? You beat it, right? It's Square Enix produced it, right? Is it up to the standard when it comes to storytelling?
I really liked it. I thought it was really well done. I actually really like the cutscenes. There's loads of people knocking the acting and all the rest of it, but it's like it's one of the best stories and cutscenes that I've seen in a game for a long time. So
I agree.
I really liked it.
Wow.
The story is so good, so much fun.
It's so crazy how diverse this is when it comes to the story. A lot of people saying it's cheesy, not up to par, and then you have the other side saying it's brilliant and so awesome. It's like, who do you believe in this situation? I guess you got to test it out for yourself, right?
To me, it feels like a better telling of the Avatar movie, like the story behind that. It's like a better version of that, basically.
Cool. That was one of my favorite movies, yeah.
But there's so many different little side missions, right? That could have just been done as real quick text or whatever. But they've got their own little side missions. They've got their own little FMV sequences for each little side mission. So I thought that was quite a nice touch.
Cool. Yeah. Again, just started back up, so I'm excited to experience. I think someone in the last podcast was saying the story gets good after like 10 hours in, right? So I'm interested to see how that all plays out.
But I'm sure we'll come on to Outriders on Stadia later.
Yeah. Do we? Are we? Okay.
Are we?
Let's go.
All right, we can cover it now if you want.
Whoa, wait. I didn't put anything in my show notes with that. So maybe, okay, if you have something, just throw it in later. Let's say what's up to the chat. We have people on here. And again, thank you guys for joining us. Valviewed, thank you. So, I don't know if I'm saying your name. Hello. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Makers of Chaos, thank you for being here. Hell Monkey, where are you, sir? But good to see you on here for sure. In lead, what's up? How you doing? Your mama knows what's good, man. Good to see you. Ben, I see in the chat. Ethium, what's up? Patrick, again, thank you for being a member and thank you for being on here. Jay Smith, what's up, man? Always love your feedback when it comes to some conversation topics. So it's good to see you on here as well. Nature Boy, good to see you. Ray, I was just giving you and a shout out with your stream earlier today, man. Absolutely incredible. If you guys haven't checked that out, good stuff. Gaming Shop TV LBD. What's up, man? All right, yo, let's get into this podcast, guys. Again, some good stuff to talk about. So we'll start with Luna. One game came to the platform this week. Haven't played it, but Jerry, I'm gonna come to you to this because I think you have called Call of the Sea, right? For Amazon Luna dropped this week, and any members got to pick this up? Have you guys experienced this? If so, I haven't played it personally, but I'm just going to open it up. If you've played it, how was it for you? How was the experience? Let's touch on that real quick. So I think, Jerry, you're probably the only one who's played this game.
Probably it, yeah. And I really did it more because I wanted to have like one of those videos where you're just kind of gaming, hanging out, and trying to talk about cloud in general. So that's kind of what I did. I sat there and just spouted off about all kinds of different cloud stuff. But as far as the game, though, I mean, everybody knows it's a well-reviewed game. It does have quite a following. And if Duncan was here, he would say Luna is good at curating what games they're getting and putting them on the Luna Plus channel, and then I would agree. So I'll just cover that since he's not here. And but it's been fun. I've only put about 2 hours. Well, I like that feature too, where when you log in, you always get to see what's, if it's a new game or a feature, cool. They flash that up. Yeah, that's cool that they do that now. But yeah, it's a good game. I'm a couple hours in. I do like. It's kind of relaxing to kind of go around, solve the puzzles, and work on the story. It's very story-driven and puzzle-driven. But yeah, they're good at getting popular, decent games onto that channel. And for the $5.99 it is for early access right now, you really can't beat the games that they keep throwing on there.
So it's not an old game. It came out December of 2020.
No. And Ride 4 was October 2020. They keep, these games aren't always all that old, and they tend to be fairly popular.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. This game was a Xbox, at least console exclusive when it launched.
In December, it launched on Xbox. Yeah, and it's coming to PlayStation in May or June. It's not even on there yet. Yeah,
and it's already on cloud. It's been on cloud for a few weeks. The Game Pass cloud. So I'm surprised GTP now have done comparisons. Repeat over the two.
So is this like Sea of Thieves, or is this like single player focused?
It is more single player focused. It looks like Sea of Thieves when you look at it, but it's nothing nothing like that at all, really.
Huh. Okay. Wow. Didn't know anything about
this. It's got a cool art style,
and
good. Yeah. It's not going to be a game that's for everybody, but it's definitely a good one to throw on there. We need Luna to expand. We need more and more people getting in here and being able to try it and get access to these games, because that's what one of the next steps is going to be. More people being able to try this out.
Yeah, when I seen the visuals, I thought, I'm going to try that game. It looked like something from like the 1930s movies or postcards, and I thought that looks lovely. That maybe I'll jump in it. But then when I heard puzzles, I was like, no, I haven't got time for this. straight away, I thought to myself, this is going to be like Lost. I'm going to find a polar bear. I'm going to find a code. I haven't got a clue what's happening.
That is always my problem with puzzle games. I like Immortal Phoenix Rising. I love the gameplay was great until you get to the puzzles, and that's when I stopped playing. I just can't get myself into puzzle games. It's just never been my style of game. So this, I would probably not play this one just because of that.
So, are there a lot of puzzles? Actually, the first thing that says right here is puzzle.
Puzzle, yeah,
So,
it is.
okay. Wow.
It's puzzle story
Okay.
as you're going, and yeah, it
I'll
is. So
probably
far, I
like
haven't
it.
run into anything hard, but it is. And they
Wow.
make the shame of it is they make so many gorgeous games that are puzzle focused, and I'm not
Yeah.
huge into it either. But like the art style will keep drawing me back in, but then a puzzle will frustrate me and I'll quit. I mean that's with almost all the puzzle games. But
It's so funny when
See,
you
I,
look at
I love
narrative.
puzzle games. I loved Relicta and Turing Test. I thought those were like so
Yep.
much fun.
you would like this game.
So when you say puzzle, I guess like I always get confused because like technically the early Resident Evil games, like they had puzzle mechanics in it. So is it
That's
like
true.
that type of puzzle mechanic, or are we talking like the Immortals Phoenix Rising style kind of puzzles?
This is like you're getting hints of things along the way, and you're finding things that tell you how to solve puzzles down the road. You're having to find sometimes codes or certain items to open doors and things like that more.
So is it like an escape room?
When you first start off, it's not so much escape, but you have to collect all the items and solve your first tiny puzzle before they let you out of the room. Yeah, and then you arrive on the island, and you just kind of start figuring things out from there. You're really looking for your lost husband who was researching this disease that you have that you need a cure for.
And he's the poor sod setting up puzzles for you. So you
Yeah,
can't
he's
find it.
the guy that made it really hard to find him. So
Just trying to give you medicine. Why are you making it so difficult?
but it is gorgeous, and if you love puzzle games, you would absolutely love this game. But yeah, if puzzles are not your thing, you're not going to stay in it.
Yeah.
How does it
looks
how does it
good.
run on Luna?
It runs great. It's a clean stream. Like a lot of the Luna Plus channel games, there's not really any settings in there. It just runs how it runs, and it's been nice.
It looks good. I'm not gonna lie. Again, didn't know anything about this
Yeah.
game, but yeah. Okay.
The visuals in it, it makes me. I would try it, but I think the minute I hit a puzzle is when I would no longer
Just
play.
shut
Someone in
it
the
up.
chat said submerged, and I like
Ooh.
submerged, and then I got to a puzzle, and and then I got frustrated, and then it got put into a desk, and I never touched it again. So that's gonna be.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think something to take from this panel is like we don't like puzzle games here. Most of us, I would say. It's crazy.
Except me.
Except Ben.
I'll be one of them gamers where I'll be like, oh, this soundtrack's amazing. Can you hear the birds? Can you hear the wind? And when I'm doing a puzzle, I'm like, can everyone shut up? I'm trying to solve it.
It's crazy. But Ray, I'm glad you said this because that's actually what we're heading to next. We just got this news right before the podcast kicked off. But yeah, if you guys haven't heard by now, Amazon just scrapped Lord of the Rings. They were working on this. This game was, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, supposed to be like a MMORPG online type of game. And the studio just canceled it. So we have this being a game that was canceled. We have Crucible being a game that was canceled, and we have New World, a game that's delayed all from Amazon's first-party studio. So let's talk about this real quick. How do you guys feel about this? Any concerns for you guys with Amazon and the first-party studios, or do you think they're good and eventually we'll start seeing fruits from their hard work? So let's start with Holtz. What's your take on this, man?
Well, I wasn't really hyped for Luna at the moment because what games they had. And one game I was actually looking forward to play was the Lord of the Rings game. I was really looking forward to diving into the service with that game. And then when I heard before it was cancelled, I just lost total faith in it. I was like, if you wanted to push a huge crowd to this service, this was the game. Yeah, and he announced it, about a year ago? So it would have been sort of a year, 2 years in development at least. So we would have seen it soon, especially when it comes to like Europe. And that was one game I would have spent hundreds of hours running around. I might even invested money if it was like I could buy certain armor sets and stuff like that, because I'm a really big Lord of the Rings fan and an MMO. So, losing this on this service just really makes me upset.
Right. Okay.
Because they've got the money, they had the tech, they had this, and I thought, because they had the TV show, I thought to myself, I had confidence that this TV show and the game was going to run simultaneously, the story, the narrative, whatever, and stuff like that. And now I've heard this is being cancelled. It's like, oh dear.
Yeah. And I'm sure some of you guys are going to cover it here, and I'll get to my take, but let's check in with Vet. What's your take on this news? I
was excited. I mean, just knowing about it because I like Lord of the Rings. That's there are a few of those style from the movies that bring out the nerdiness in me that I will dive into, whether it's Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, any of that stuff. But I was disappointed when I popped it up. I didn't even read the article. I just saw that it was scrapped, and I was like, oh, because knowing myself, I would have put some time into that, especially to try it out. And then if I got sucked into that world, do I think it's the end of Luna as we know it? Probably not. I don't think it's going to affect anything. I mean, we heard this is almost like similar to what we saw with Stadia closing a studio down and the world fell apart. I think Luna's going to rebound, and whether this comes back, I don't know. But it's not like this isn't the first time Amazon itself has scrapped a game that they've been working on for countless years.
Yeah, true. Okay. How about you, Ben? What's your take on this news?
I mean, it's sad. I haven't played like a Lord of the Rings game in forever, and I was kind of excited because it sounded like it was going to be really good, but we don't know what we missed out on.
True.
Can't mourn something that we never saw what it was going to look like. Yeah. So
they never showed like a photo image or a trailer, right?
I don't think so.
Nothing. Okay. Good point with that. Okay. Bryant, what's your take on this?
I think the biggest takeaway that we can take from it is MMOs are hard to develop. If you look at the MMO market, off the top of my head, of course, you've got Old Republic, you've got World of Warcraft, and then in third place, I might throw like a DC Universe or something like that. But you could also say
Final Fantasy 14.
Yes, yeah. There's other ones out there, but none of them have really hit the scale of a World of Warcraft or anything like that. And I think that's a conversation that you have to look at from a studio perspective of money. And do we really want to commit to a game like this for the next 15, 16 years in development? And I think that we're also hitting a point in video games where it's going to become extremely fluid. I think that platforms aren't going to mean much in the future. So the argument of exclusives or Luna needs to have something to bring someone to the platform is going to kind of start to kind of dwindle away. I think we saw Xbox appear, or PlayStation games appear on Xbox this week, and so forcing kind of the other way. I don't see this as a big deal, kind of like what Ben said. I mean, we didn't get any trailers, we didn't get any photos or anything of the game, so it's hard to be upset. But I don't think that this is the be all end all for Luna.
Yeah. Okay. Jared, did we get to you in this?
No, not yet, but I agree with what everybody's saying. If Luna would have came out and said they're going to scrap all possibilities of exclusives and first party, I would have something else to say, because they're not even off the ground yet, and that would be concerning. But just being a game, one that we never saw, I think it has nothing to do with the success of Luna. I think for a nerdy Lord of the Rings fan like myself, who has played all the games, it's really disappointing. I was really looking forward to something great, but I was never happy it was an MMO to begin with. My favorite Lord of the Rings games have been campaign and story driven anyways, and I would have preferred that they did that. Maybe they will do something like that. Who knows, especially if the TV show continues. But it does suck, but I think in the larger picture, it's not going to mean much.
Right. So this is, Chief, we're going to get to you in a bit, but I'm seeing a pattern here with some of the games that this studio is creating, and most of them have to do it online. Most of them have to do it like pay as a service, a subscription model, like MMO type games, right? And my thing is, should that be the route, the approach that they should be taking, right? And again, we saw Microsoft kind of wanting to shift to that focus where they were like, it's all about like online games. And then Sony hit them in the mouth with the PS4 and their first party exclusive. And then they changed their plans, started acquiring studios, bringing, big titles to the Xbox ecosystem. So my thing here is, should they change the approach to really focus on making like great quality first party studio games instead of all these multiplayer online games? And I think those games might be quite challenging. That's why they haven't had any success yet with it. But what's your take on that? Just gonna open that to the panel and see what y'all have to say about that.
If I could jump in first,
Sure.
if I was CEO or president of Luna, I think that number one, the first thing you got to realize is that the biggest tool in your arsenal is Amazon.com. I don't think that first party exclusives necessarily are going to be required for them to succeed. I think that having the option to go to Amazon.com and you see MLB The Show, let's just say that for example, and you have Xbox copy, PlayStation copy, PC copy, whatever you want on there, and then right next to that it says play it now. So your option is Prime today, or you can play it right now, stream to your computer. I think that's the biggest tool that Amazon has. And in my personal opinion, I think that that's kind of what keeps me having faith in them as a platform, because it's more of a retail experience than anything.
Right. Good point. Good point.
I would say, another great tool that Luna has over the others is they have Twitch. They have all the connections to Twitch. They have the contracts with streamers and everything. So as soon as they have a couple of good games on there that they want to push, it's going to be so easy for them to just promote it. Which, Stadia has like YouTube integration, but they don't really have like major game streamers to really push their service. And with Twitch, that would be just that's to me that's Luna's secret weapon.
So would you say
they just don't have the oh sorry I was just gonna say, to go along with what Ben was saying, they just don't have the game yet to do that, because that's the one thing I always, when I heard about Luna, when they were talking about that, is that it was going to be directly integrated with Twitch. Well, you get the right game, that takes it a whole nother step, especially with that integration feature.
Right. And they're still in beta, to be fair. Once they're out of beta and they have a couple of good games, all it takes is one or two good games to bring everybody to the service.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I think that there's probably a massive bidding war going on behind the scenes that I'm not aware of, with like Stadia, Luna, and all of these services who are like, we want Call of Duty first, or we want this game first. Just because, you look at YouTube, YouTube's the home of the Call of Duty League. So if they could say, hey, this next round of the Call of Duty League, jump on Stadia, play, whoever comes in first place gets thrown into the tourney. There's that different side of esports. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably a massive bidding war going on for experiences like this that Twitch and YouTube allow.
Yeah, that's a good point, for sure. Cool. Anyone else want to add to the Luna news and the cancellation of Lord of the Rings from the Amazon first party studio?
I would say one final, just to more directly answer your question on what you're asking about online versus single player campaign and what they should focus on. And as Bryant was saying, it is difficult to produce these online all the time and these big MMO type games, and we've seen them trying to really push that style, like you've said. And we've seen a huge push for campaign and story driven games over the past couple of years. It used to be they were saying they were dead, but they weren't anywhere near dead, and now people are craving those experiences. So I think you would be right in saying they do need to focus some on some single player campaign experiences, not just all online.
True. Chief, I see you quiet, man. It's scaring me, man. What do you think about it?
You shut me down.
I'm quiet. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we'll start with the whole Luna Studio thing. I think this is completely separate. This has got absolutely nothing to do with Luna, Lord of the Rings game. The Lord of the Rings thing was hyped up way before Luna was even a thing. I think they've realized that New World has cost them an absolute fortune and is a proper MMO RPG. So trying to do it again for Lord of the Rings and licensing and the ridiculous amount of fanboys that were following that game on Reddit that are probably going to burn down in flames now. So I would steer well clear of that place for a while. But I think because New World is Amazon's MMORPG, they don't want to split hairs. So I have a feeling that they've shut that game down to put all the resources into New World, which is already delayed. And, if it comes out, I think New World's going to be a great thing. If they get it on Luna, fantastic. But again, I'm not keeping my hopes up there because it's already been however long in development. So if they're going to port it to Luna, that means more delays and more money wasted. What Ben said, I think there's another point to the whole Twitch stream integration with Luna that is the secret weapon. And it's kind of what Bryant was touching on there, is things like Call of Duty, Valorant, all these games that we don't see on the other platforms that are huge streamer games. I don't think Luna cares for first party games. I don't think Amazon cares for first party games. Why would they? They make an absolute killing off of other people's games. So what's going to be better to promote your service? A game that nobody's ever heard of that you've developed when you've got a really poor reputation of making games. Sorry, Amazon, it's not looking good right now. Or you can come and play Call of Duty Warzone on our platform, and it's integrated with our streamers. Oh, and if you release a game, by the way, we'll just tell all of our top streamers to just go and stream it directly, and now you've got 100 million people with eyes on your game. Or you can go to Stadia with their 5 people. That's going to be the draw of people of getting games to their service. If our favorite Duncan was here, content is king. They've got the user base. Well, not the user base, they've got the streamer base. And as Bryant said, they've also got the shop store. So, if you say, put it on Luna, we'll give you £1 for every time somebody streams your game or whatever as part of the subscription, who's going to buy it? Pay 60 quid now, play now. That's an awesome model. And by the way, we've put it in front of 100 million people on our streaming platform, and they can also dive in directly from the stream. I think that's Luna's secret weapon that we're yet to see, if they can pull it off. And we've seen poor execution of integration of these systems before, so wait and see.
I think what Brian said about bidding wars happening that we're not aware of is so true. I mean, I think all these companies, Game Pass is, Microsoft showcasing the numbers, 17 million. It's probably higher than that now. You have Google, right, and Stadia with the YouTube integration. You have that. You have Amazon with, hey, right, we can promote you on Twitch, right, if you stream our game, if it's out on Amazon Luna. So I feel like all these companies have something to fall back on. And I think it's crazy what we're not seeing. I mean, the GTA 5 deal for Game Pass, I mean, we heard about it on Monday last week or 2 weeks ago, and it released on Thursday. Like I was saying last episode, there's probably a lot of that negotiations going on that we're not even seeing. But yeah, it's crazy, but exciting.
Well, and
But
the other side of
crazy.
it too, to kind of jump on that content side, is you have Xbox, right? Xbox has this partnership with Facebook that we're all waiting to see what that turns into. And according to what the partnership says, is that you'll be scrolling through your Facebook feed and there'll be a streamer or an ad for a game and it'll say play on Xcloud now, and you press it and boom, you're instantly brought into the game. So it's going to be a very, very exciting time in the world of gaming.
Yeah, for sure. Good stuff happening all around for sure. All right, anyone else for Luna? If not, we're gonna hop on to GeForce Now. All right, we're moving on. So GeForce Now, as you guys know, every Thursday they update us with their news, and this week we got that 15 games were coming to the GeForce Now platform, and I'm curious to know what y'all's thoughts are in these games. If you guys know me, I always say GeForce Now is struggling with something I call week, meaning for the last, going into 7 weeks now, I feel like their weekly release of games has been lackluster. And this week is okay. It's okay, I'll give them that. But the games that were released for this week are Nightgate Tale. Don't know if I'm saying that right. AO Tennis 2. Again, they got a sports game, so shout out. Beholder 2, Far Cry 2. And that's Epic Game Store. Outriders from Epic. Postal 4 from Steam. Shelters from Steam. Shio from Steam. Tomb Raider 4. The Last Revelation. Steam. Torchlight 3. Trine. in Enchanted Edition. I don't know if I'm saying this game right. Vigil or Vigil, The Longest Night, Werewolf the Apocalypse, and Yes, Your Grace. Those are the games that was released for the GeForce Now platform. But then to add to that, they updated some games with RTX support, which first being Mortar Shell, and then some other games got DLSS support as well. So overall, I would say this was a solid week for them, but still not that impressed with the game selection. But let's hear from the panel. What's y'all's take on the GeForce Now news for this week? Let's start with Holtz.
There's no way in hell I'm going to sit there and look at this list and ever say this was a great list. Of course I'm going to say...
Thank you.
Of course I'm going to look at this list and think to myself, this is the 11th, 12th week I've been saying this, and I'm not skipping the platform, but I thought to myself, okay, you're giving rewards away. What rewards are you giving away? Discounts? Free games with your partnership? No, an armor set. I'm like, okay. What games you're offering with RTX? Are you going to bring Saints Row the Third Remastered? Are you working with Outriders? No, you're bringing Mortal Shell. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, I know it's a Souls-like game, exploration, it looks great, but there was games that I want GeForce Now to push with the developers to get RTX-like graphics. And then going on to the games, when I seen them, I was going, indie, early access, a narrative comic, and I thought to myself, this is not a week that I could actually back any of them games at all.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's going to be some there for everyone, but to me, I just thought this is not what I was jumping on the platform for.
So this is not a solid week when it comes to... Okay.
Not at all. I think this is probably one of the weakest weeks I've seen of GeForce Now. Of all the weakest weeks that I've said.
Wow.
See, I feel the opposite. I feel like while it's not a great week, it's better than anything we've seen in like the last like 8 to 10 weeks, maybe.
No, because we had like stuff like Outriders. We had big huge games.
Yeah, but Outriders was everywhere at the same time, so it's not like that was unexpected. Like there's not like I want to see. We're talking about wanting GeForce Now to add things that are not on the front of our minds, like surprise us with some good games.
But once again, it was like they announced again another game, Far Cry 2. I was like, it was already on the platform via Steam and Ubisoft Connect. We stopped filling games out. That's early access, and it was already on the platform before. And I was like,
that's fair.
Okay. All right. So let's hear from Vet. What's your take on these games, man?
I mean, like I said, the only one that I was semi-excited for was Postal 4 because I just bought it and I was like, oh, now I can uninstall it from my computer because I don't need it on there. But, like everyone else said, it's early access, and I already know that there are issues with it because when I had it installed via Steam, there's moments where you'll be in the gameplay and it crashes on you. And the same exact thing happens on GeForce Now. It's the same thing. It's no different. But otherwise, it is. I mean, Far Cry 2, I'm not going to get excited for that. I have Ubisoft Plus, so it's already in my catalog on GeForce Now. It's like, and the rest of them, they're either stuff that I've never heard of, or it's just, I think they could have done better, and I think people are just expecting them to get a lot of the games that they had prior to when they were still beta, and I think that's what the hope has been. Like, well, if you can get these, why can't you just get everything else? Because I remember when I was using it and you could play like Mafia 3, all the Mafia stuff and NBA and things like that. And I think that standard is still, people still have that, are still hoping that standard's going to come back and they're going to get that. And you get disappointed when you see a lineup like this, for some older games, and, and you get, some of them might be fun, but I don't know. I don't think this didn't bring a wow factor to me.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Jared, let's hear from you, man. What's your take on these games coming to the platform for this week, and also the features?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me. GFN really gets some back and forth, and even in comments, I see people for this week that are really happy, thinking, calling this a strong week for GeForce Now, and I'm also seeing comments of people that trash GFN, don't like it, more games that I don't want to play. It's difficult, especially this time of year, when people say GeForce Now doesn't get any AAA games. They do. They got Cyberpunk, they got Outriders, they got every Ubisoft title in the fall. They've gotten a ton of releases that I just feel like it's like every week somebody wants to see something. And especially for March, there wasn't really any games to get. I wanted to see Kingdom Hearts come. It didn't, but it was never announced to anyways. It's cloud is just an interesting thing right now, and I still think GeForce Now caters much better to the PC gamers. I get a lot more comments from PC gamers saying this is great. These are more of the games I have in my library that I can either uninstall or I can play elsewhere or on mobile. And then I have people from my community that prefer cloud as their main platform. They only play cloud, so this is weak. This is not good for them. It's not the kind of games they're wanting to play. So it's really divided in who's going to be happy and not happy with this. Always bringing more features like DLSS and RTX and that kind of stuff is great. But I can't say any cloud platform this week, if I'm just looking at this week, did great at all anyway. Stadia brought nothing, Luna brought nothing, and GeForce brought nothing if I really want to look at it that way. But they'll continue to bring 10 to 15 games a week. They'll go over 500 games by the end of the year and hopefully get a lot of the AAA games going forward, like they have, like Hitman, like Cyberpunk, like the Ubisoft games. But we do need to see more. And I've told people, stop looking backwards. Those old games aren't coming back. It's going to be very rare. It's probably not going to happen. We just need to look at what comes out in the future, if they get the games or not.
But GCP, they're not old games, because when you look back on the ones I mentioned Command and Conquer Remastered. I mentioned Rome Total War Remastered. And they were big, huge games in my library back as a PC game, and people go, "Oh, not the PC games." And like, these were games that defined a generation, and I'm like, I can name loads of games that are more newish than the ones that they're bringing out.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that, and I could be off, but I still think a ton of the issues with getting these games on the cloud are either developers feeling uncomfortable about performance or having the games on cloud yet, because it is still really, really new. It's still a niche thing right now. Or also that they're hanging back to see, okay, cloud's starting to take off. What kind of deals are going to be coming down the road? What kind of negotiations? And they might be holding off to see where their games might be able to go for a little bit of money. So it's hard to tell, and it's strange on all the cloud platforms right now, to be honest with you, with what games they're getting, what they're not getting. And I still think we're going to see a ton of fragmentation over the next 3 years, and it's going to become like freaking TV apps where we're subscribing to every company when we want to play their game. I swear it's coming. We're not going to have Stadia, GeForce Now, and Xcloud. We're going to have every publisher and developer. You want to play Call of Duty, you got to sign into your Activision account and pay for cloud. You want to play Ubisoft games, you're going to pay for it over there. I still think we're going to head down the road that it's going to become like cord cutting, and we're going to eventually be paying every company to stream their freaking game. You're not going to have single platforms or services. So this is just the beginning. It's a little bit messy.
Good to know. Thanks for your feedback. Let's check in with Bryant, man. What's your take on this?
Yeah, admittedly, I get painted as being an optimist way too many times, and I guess I just subscribe to the fact that, any week where we get a new game that we didn't have previously is better than others. I guess GeForce Now is a little differently, because you have to buy the game on Steam or the Epic Game Store to be able to kind of stream it from that perspective. But I mean, I look at this list, and granted, yes, it doesn't have any bangers that are on there, but these are also games that are good fillers, that if someone new is looking at GeForce and trying to figure out what's going, Trine is a fantastic game. Really do love that game. And then Torchlight's a beloved series, man. Even though that's indie titles, those are still series that people open up the available list when they're looking, what can I play, and see those, and that might convince somebody to, say, oh, I have that game, I can stream that as well. So yes, it's not big games, but I think there's some still kind of gems in this list right here.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. Ben, you kind of hopped in. Didn't know if you had more to say on this list.
Yeah, I was just going to point out also that, the Torchlight games are very popular. Trine, Werewolf has kind of a following as well. Far Cry is old. Outriders was already on there. But, there's Tomb Raider. So there are some good games. And AO Tennis, they need more sports games on GeForce Now. There's not a lot of those. That's kind of the reason why I was saying that it's one of the better weeks in the last couple of months. It's still not a great week, but it's definitely an improvement in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only game on there that makes me mad is Werewolf the Apocalypse, because I tried that game and I had zero fun playing that game. So
Is it
I just
bad? What?
I
Like,
played the most recent one that released on like PlayStation 5 and all that type of stuff, and I was just like, can I refund this game? I was just so mad about it. I was just like, this. I don't know.
I've heard it gets boring for a lot of people after about 45 minutes. It just gets kind of repetitive.
Yeah, but the concept is fantastic because
Yeah.
like you can jump in between being a human and a werewolf, and you can just ravage people and rip their heads off and do crazy stuff like that. But just didn't live up to the hype for me.
interesting. Yeah, don't know anything about this game, but yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they had a newer one which kind of got the same reviews. It looked really good on paper, but then when people started playing with it, it was a bit lackluster. But
Huh.
I just find the whole argument here, I see it week after week. GeForce Now, Indie Now, 15 games, or it's another rubbish week for GeForce Now. So hang on, have we forgotten what platforms we're covering here? And Stadia brought 2 games, Luna brought 1 game. Xcloud had an awesome week with 6. GeForce
Wait,
Now is
Xcloud
piling
had 6
15.
games?
The 6 touch control ones.
Touch controls.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not even adding any new games, right? Apart from if you want to count the 100 PC games, which was pretty good. But anyway, we'll put that to the side.
The touch controls that they added for those games, there were some good games to have touch controls on, like Banjo-Kazooie. Brilliant. That's a great one to have.
What I'm saying is, we're saying that it's a rubbish week because GeForce Now is bringing games that nobody cares about, but they added 15. Other platforms added 1 or 2 games that a lot of people don't really care about. So it's quite funny to me still that we do treat GeForce Now so differently to the other platforms because we're expecting more. And as Ben said, Jerry said, there hasn't been any big game releases as of late, apart from Outriders, which is there. It's there day and date. So I do feel like we're probably bashing GeForce Now a bit more. Yes, they get a lot of indie games, but a lot of people play indie games.
They have
if you
big
look
followings.
At the Steam list, they have huge followings. Torchlight 3. I know they're not the games that you want to play, but
well, and when you compare it
pick a
to
platform.
consoles, right? Like we on the Nerf report, we occasionally talk about like what game released this week. So I constantly have Metacritic open looking at what games released. And on the console side, Nintendo received 35 games this week.
Insane.
PlayStation received 2. Xbox received 0. So just for comparison, I mean, that's kind of where I'm like, hey man, 12 games.
Yeah.
I didn't have 12 games last week. I got them now. So kudos to the platform.
But I'm always the type of guy that always picks quality over quantity. I'm never one of them people that go, well, hey, look at me. I've accessed my Steam library. I never played these games on my Steam library. Got them in a humble bundle, and now they're on GeForce Now. I picked the quality. And when you say, oh, well, indie, people like indies, but that's the same as when, like Ben goes, well, this is a Stadia mobile game. But I don't say, well, people like mobiles. It's a mobile game. I have a certain standard what I want off the service, especially at that price tag. The new price tag I have and their partnerships they work with. So I do have expectations of them.
Well, and I think that the other side of it... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, you complained about them bringing early access games. Actually, I think that's a really good thing that you are getting the ability to dive into early access games.
Well, at this rate, they should have put Outriders and Cyberpunk as early access then as well, because these games are broken. We're all complaining that it breaks generations, and now here we are. We should clap for buggy games.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, like we said, I think the biggest issue with GeForce Now is they're held to a different standard because of all the games that were available at one point, and now they're gone. The library was slashed in half. I think that's what kind of hurt them at the beginning, but now that as you see the games they get and what they had before working on there, and that to me is kind of like if you try to compare what you're adding the indie titles to, like, when you could play NBA 2K on there and stuff like that.
Mine's not what they lost. Mine is what they're not adding with their partnership storefronts. I named loads of games. I probably named about 12 big games that was in the top 10 Steam libraries in February, March, April, and people go, oh, it's a slow month. Yeah, in certain games, but there's
Yeah.
loads of games that I feel that they could have brought to the platform and it would have been huge.
Yeah,
So,
I guess the only gripe that I take with kind of the indie used as like a dirty word is that there's so many studios that qualify as indie. Like we
True.
talked about Call of the Sea coming to Luna. That technically
an
is an
indie,
indie
yeah.
game. You know, not every indie game is going to be shovelware. Not every indie game is going to be a terrible platform. I mean,
Look at Rust. Look at
Player Unknown Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
Valheim.
I mean, there are so many indie developers out there that are putting maybe not AAA quality games out, but still good quality games out there.
Yeah, and that's true. But if you look at, like, in this list, if you look at Shio, that 2D action platform, you're going to look at that and go, yes, that is my definition of indie.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel a lot of these games are.
True. I'm gonna be a little petty, guys, because I'm gonna tell you why I have a hard time with GeForce Now's list. Because there used to be a time when another company was putting out a certain amount of games, and we kept hearing the argument of, this company needs more quality over quantity. And I said, all right, let's revisit this when this company, GeForce Now, starts doing the same. And so that's kind of where my argument is right here. Y'all give Stadia a hard as heck time when they were pulling all these games out. Y'all was like, oh no, it's not about the numbers. This game sucks. Like, I'm not going to play this game. It's going to go in pro.
But
And
they're
here
not
we
even
are
bringing out
with
any
GeForce Now.
numbers or any games.
It's a pro argument.
No, here we are with GeForce Now doing the same exact thing. And
Yeah.
I would say lately, Stadia's been pulling out bangers, and we're talking about Judgment coming next week. We're talking about they might not even get Resident Evil with GeForce Now. Let's talk about that, right? So again, I'm gonna get petty because y'all have been on the Stadia needs more quality games, and I feel like they've been killing it as of late.
They have been. I'm not going to
There's
argue
a
with that.
demo of Resident Evil coming to Steam in a couple of weeks' time. We just don't know whether it's going to arrive.
They're
on
not gonna
GeForce
get
Now
it,
yet.
man. Let's be real. There's no Capcom game on GeForce Now, man. You think all of a sudden we're gonna see Resident Evil?
I also
There's a-
think that at a certain point that Resident Evil is such a big game that they would have GeForce Now would have been talking about it. That's my only.
They would have
concern.
been.
But
for
they didn't talk
sure.
about Hitman beforehand. They just dropped it. Same thing with Avengers. They just dropped it. Like, there was
Yeah.
no
But-
talk with any of
but-
those games.
There was Square Enix games previously in GeForce Now. There's no Capcom game. So what? Like all of a sudden they're gonna get the biggest Capcom franchise of the year. Since Capcom left, I don't think they've been back to the platform yet. And again, I don't think Nvidia is going to pay the money to get this game on GeForce Now. So I really don't see this.
It's a valid
coming.
argument. It's a valid argument. I
Yeah.
mean, isn't Kingdom Hearts Square Enix?
It is Square Enix, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Where's
and-
that game?
Yeah.
Let's just be real.
Why is
right?
it not on Stadia?
Yeah,
Because
we're
that
on
wasn't
a
big
partnerships,
end.
aren't
That's
we,
why
as
it's
well?
not on there. Just keep Kingdom Hearts off Stadia. I don't need to buy it a seventh time.
Right. Just to touch on Ace's stuff
But
there
yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah.
like the difference in like the numbers game for the game releases and everybody's arguments are so valid. It's such an interesting conversation. But when GeForce Now drops a list of games, there's potential that already millions upon millions of people have access or own those games through PC over the years. When Stadia was dropping games, there was zero chance that anybody had already owned or had a huge player base for those games. And that's why it gets so hard when everyone starts to say GeForce Now this and Stadia this. I can't even compare GeForce Now to Stadia. To me, they're so far apart in what they are. I cannot compare them other than when they each have the same game. I can record it and put them next to each other and say, this is what they look like. But as far as services and platforms and what they have to offer, I really can't compare. And when you talk about the quality of Stadia games, I 100% agree that I don't even say that anymore. Back when we were originally covering this before last fall, I would say all the time Stadia needed the games. Fall came and they got them. Spring came and they got the games that were coming. So they're getting more of the quality games along with some of the other indie games. And I think that's great. But I also think that with the world moves so fast, GeForce Now also has gotten a lot, if not all of the biggest games with Outriders, Cyberpunk, Valheim, Dyson Sphere, a bunch of other games that they do get, and their user base has grown to 10 million or more now, and they were 1 million a year ago when they came out of beta, a little over a year ago. So that compared to, say, the growth of Stadia or something, and not a bash on them, is so different that even if someone doesn't agree with what they see, GeForce Now is doing something right to grow that fast, and it means that maybe more developers will start bringing their games there that we want to see because they got the user base.
Holtz, I see you nodding.
No, I mean, after this, I think what's actually driving this, you can't bash GeForce Now player base, but I think what's actually driving this service is definitely free-to-play games. I think that's what's pushing it.
Sure.
And so even when you mentioned it,
and all the big games, they have 84, 85 free-to-play games right now.
But I'm not seeing people run out and say, is the 10 million people playing Outriders on GeForce Now? I don't think so. I can see a lot of them playing on the free sub on free-to-play games. That's what
well, and I think to kind of piggyback on what you guys are saying is if you look at what Rogue Company, Valheim, and all these games have in common is that streaming side where you have content creators out there playing it. So from a viewer perspective, it's like, man, I really like what Dr. Lupo or what whoever is playing this game is doing it. I can just play it on my phone thanks to GeForce Now. I don't have to have a gigantic rig. So I definitely think that that's a big part of it. One of the things that was brought up that I thought is really interesting, and this is something I've been taking away with the comparison of the platforms, is really the only two that are comparable are kind of Xbox Game Pass and Luna. You know, Stadia, GeForce, Xbox, and Luna kind of all have their own little niche of, you know, what they're offering in the market. And I think that's kind of, it's interesting, and it's going to be kind of really cool to see how that begins to kind of spread apart and develop.
True.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna hop in here. I'm gonna hop off because I got stuff I gotta do, but I'll catch you guys later.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Chief.
It's come up in the chat, so I'm gonna dive on it. Turret Man Gaming. One thing that GeForce Now has been doing is keeping things up to date, and this has been something that I'm seeing more and more not happening on Stadia, and it's really starting to worry me. And Outriders is got to be the worst example of this that I've seen today. They have, for the last 2 weeks, said we'll fix it next week, and not, essentially. And they've just put the same response out again today that they'll fix Stadia next week. So they've had a lot more attention on PC and Xbox and console, especially console, because it's part of Game Pass. That's where their priorities lie. But we've also seen it with FIFA. We've seen it now with Outriders. I'm really concerned with Resident Evil, what this port's going to look like. I know we're going to come on to that a bit more later, but Stadia, the whole thing about no downloads, no updates. Did they actually mean that no updates means that they're not going to update the game? I don't think that's quite the way that they wanted to pitch it. So, Outriders is quite broken on Stadia right now. So there was a ton of people that really peed off with it being broken at launch on console and PC. That's all stable now. It's working absolutely brilliantly. That's all died down, but Stadia's still been left high and dry.
All right, so define broken, because like I said, I picked the game up I watched your comparison and I saw what you're talking about, but I picked the game up again. I haven't been gaming for a while, but I picked it up and I had a freaking enjoyable experience, man. Like I was able to find people. It's running smooth. I left it at 1080, 60, no 4K. So I didn't test that part of things, but to me, I was like, yo, the game is playable enough for me to have a decent experience with it.
Well, bugs can be user specific, can't they? So Chiefs could be getting bugs that you might not encounter.
That's true. I just want to know when you say broken, though, what are you saying?
The cutscenes, the pop-in, the broken missions. Stadia suffers from all of the bugs that PC had because it's the PC port. So all of those bugs are there, and they haven't been fixed. The worst is the pop-in and the cutscenes. I think it just made it completely unplayable when I played it on Stadia. I played it on GeForce Now. I played it on PC. Looking at Stadia, it was just awful. And you say that that's looking great. don't look at it on any other platform because
I think that's the
is
issue that
smashed.
you keep running into, and you have so many things to compare it to, and to you, it's just like, that might be a valid point, seriously, because I mean, I tested in GeForce Now and Stadia, that's it. And to me, I'm like, this is kind of on par with what we're seeing in GeForce Now. So I don't know, maybe that might be the issue. Maybe you should, like, you and Jerry, yo, both of you guys,
You
stop
said
testing
on par
games,
with
man.
GeForce Now. You're killing me. I did so
It
much
was,
testing.
like, I
Stadia wasn't
tried it
even
in
close to
GeForce Now.
GeForce Now.
You see, y'all need to stop comparing videos for like a week or two, man.
Me and Chief will never stop. Our head is literally plugged into the hardware. We never quit.
Seriously.
No, I still want a comparison of Cold to Sea. So that's what we need going forward.
It's not going to be very exciting, but we can do it.
Xcloud versus Luna. No, that's bring everyone, man.
Yeah, and
Cool.
crossplay is still completely broken for Stadia. So
Is it?
you
I was
you'll
finding
only ever be
games,
playing
though.
with people playing on Stadia. Well, yeah. The problem with Outriders is it's such a co-op based game. You can solo quite a lot, but if you want to stay at the higher world tiers, you need somebody with you because you will just get dropped.
Yeah. So then, would you say the issues that the game just is slow with the updates, right? Once it catches up to the PC or the console's updates, right, you would think the game would be as enjoyable, because I think I remember in your review or comparison, you're saying it's still locked at 1.0, right? And if it's updated to match what is available right now on current platforms, the game will be as good.
It'll be as enjoyable. It
Okay.
certainly won't look as good because it just can't. And I think we've already confirmed, it's 4K 30. It's frame locked. So unless they remove that cap, it's never going to look anywhere near as nice on there as other platforms. And the 1080 60 at the moment can't even hold 60. So hopefully the patches on there would mean that it could hold at least closer to 60. And that's one of the reasons why I say it's quite broken, Ace, is it can't hold 1080 60. So there's some big problems there. So
Bro,
if you're
I was
playing
playing that
through
game
in some
last
of the,
night, and it was feeling
depends
smooth
how
as
far
hell.
you've got, but if you've hit some of the actual decent content, that thing stutters all over the place. It's really not pretty.
Yeah.
So we hope that they fix it. This is all on the devs. It's not Stadia's fault. This is definitely on the devs, but this is one of the problems that I have with the Stadia platform right now, is that the devs aren't giving the games the attention, which is giving Stadia a bad name.
Yeah.
So I guess I got a
I'll leave it at
question.
that.
I'm kind of out of touch of this whole story because I kind of gave up on Outriders. But is this like Cyberpunk, where they brought in a third-party developer that People Can Fly did to make the game, or is People Can Fly pumping out updates for everybody?
I think it's all People Can Fly.
Okay.
And yeah, sorry, Roberto's reminded me. Yeah, you still can't turn motion blur off on
Killing me.
Stadia.
Yep.
And motion blur just kills that game really badly. But no,
And to be fair, the
Yeah,
Series
I
X,
need
when the
to get
demo
my
first
eyes
dropped, was
checked,
bad.
guys. I need to get my eyes checked, man. Like the way you guys are talking about this game makes it seem like it's. I mean, I had a freaking great experience, man. Like, what am I missing?
Well, and that's something that I always talk about with people, is that like you do have the sect of gamers who are like, hey man, it needs to be 4K 60 frames per second, or it's not fun, or it has to be 120 frames per second. But then, I'm the type of gamer that's just like, dude, if you can make me escape for 20 minutes,
Right.
and make me smile, this is game of the year territory for me. So
Interesting.
I have an
It-
RTX video going up today to show you some later game content. So
Okay.
if you want to keep enjoying Stadia, don't watch it.
Okay, so the RTX 3080,
Y'all are
what
crazy.
monitor do I have to watch it on? Can I watch it on my 720 phone?
Yeah. You will still see the difference. That's the problem.
Gosh. Cool. All right. So where are we at with GeForce Now? Everyone said their piece on it. All right. We should move on to Stadia. Right?
We're on it.
Cool. All right. So one of these games I haven't played it yet, but I really want to, right? That's a breakdancing game. What's it called? Floor Kids,
Gang.
right? Yeah. It looks fun, and it's a game that I keep telling myself I want to play. It's $20, right? Released on Wednesday, and then Dark Side of Detective. I know there's a lot of controversy about this game. It's supposed to be a pro game. Duncan, if he was here, would probably bring this up again. But it wasn't a pro game. It's on sale for $11.70. And the joke is don't buy it because eventually we will see it on. But I'm not excited about Dark Side Detective, but the breakdancing game kind of has my attention. But just want to check in with you guys and see, did these two games catch your interest, and are you guys going to pick any of them up? So to get started, Vet, what's your take on these two games?
Floor Kids, to me, it looks fun. I always say, just because it looks fun, I'm not going to buy it, but I end up buying everything that comes out on Stadia for some weird reason. So I probably will end up getting it. I don't know if I'll play it that much. My biggest issue with that is, as a content creator, the music, because it's a music game.
Copyright,
So like I don't know how they're gonna do that one. The Dark Side one, I'm gonna end up buying that. That I watched some other people playing that already, and it looks fun. Like it's got some different aspects of it that I as a gamer like. So that's one that I would. Like I said, Floor Kids, it looks interesting. I'm not a big musical game person, but I might give it a whirl just at least to try it out.
Yeah, sounds. By the way, I'm still here, fellas. My camera just loves to do this every once in a while, but just know I'm still here.
I just thought you turned the lights out.
Yeah. So let's check in with you, Holtz. What's your take on these two games?
No, usually I actually buy games that even when people on the panel say it's going to pro, but these two games, I'm not going to buy them. No, they're not for me at all. They're not for the family. I can recommend. I've just seen them and just thought to myself, no. So I'm just, definitely not going to play them.
I could tell as I was talking. I could tell you. I could just see you shaking your head.
I was like point Dark Side Detective was like point and click. I was like, I'm not going to do that on a controller for one. And then I thought, breakdancing is not my jam. Not at all. Not at all. I won't even. I'll break a sweat just by watching it. So
hilarious. Brian, what's your take on these two games, man?
We're at a point last year with Stadia where it was like any game that came out I wanted. And as a Stadia gamer, we're privileged to be at a point where it's like I have too many games to play. So this unfortunately is a week that I took a hard pass on both these games. I'm interested in the Floor Kids. I think that could be a fun content created series, but unfortunately I'm holding off.
So we're not going to see the Bryant from the Nerf report doing some breakdancing online.
hey, there is always a dollar amount to every single video. So.
We'll all end up with Breakfoot.
Hilarious. Jerry, what's your take on these two games?
Oh my god, the breakdancing. I really thought Holtz was a weekend breakdancer, so I am disappointed to find out it's not. The best thing about these two games being released is the conversation we're having about them. It's not that great. It's what would they say? It's a week for Stadia. Nothing there for me there. But to be fair, I did say last week that they had 3 strong weeks, and I thought they were doing a killer job with the pro games, with the announcements, with some of the communications. They've hit us with the Resident Evil demo stuff. So. I've been praising them lately, but of course, everybody's going to have that kind of a week. And for me, this is one where it's like, I really don't care about these games coming out on there, but somebody's going to enjoy them. I hope, anyone on Stadia enjoys them. If even a couple of people do, that's great. So,
well, I know Duncan was on Just Dance. He loves Just Dance. So that's what I was looking forward to this podcast. I was like, I would love to see if Duncan can do this.
True. Chief, what's your take on these two games?
2 games, is that all?
Oh gosh.
Dark Side Detective, don't care. Like you said, point and click on a controller, definitely not the optimal experience. Floor Kids, I was quite tempted mainly to try and get my child away from Formula 1 2020 or Formula 1 on Steam because he just spends most of his time crashing and getting really upset about it. So I want a game to draw him away from that, and I think Floor Kids might do it. But then again, it's probably going to be on Pro in a month or two's time. So
I would never
it's a
trust
really
any
difficult
kid in front of the telly doing breakdancing. Not at all. If you said to the kids, "Go ahead, kids, go and breakdance in front of the telly," your telly's going on the floor.
True. Yeah. I would say this is not Stadia's strongest week. Just being real. But again, Judgment, Resident Evil games to come in pretty soon. So this has me really interested in the platform and what's to come.
Yeah,
right?
and I think if you look at the platform and kind of what's on the horizon, right? First half of the year, we have Stadia coming to Chromecast TV, or Google TV is what we're being told.
Right.
Ark Survival Evolved is hopefully coming to Pro within the next month or however long we're looking at for that. But there's definitely some bright spots in the future for kind of things to look forward to on the platform.
Right. Agreed, 100%. True.
I'm still waiting for the Mafia trilogy on Stadia.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Who knows if that'll ever make it?
Fun. Mafia is really
I'm not
fun.
holding my breath on it, so unfortunately.
We'll see it, I think. Rainbow Six is one that that game needs to come like today.
Yeah.
Stadia needs some really good competitive. That's why I go on GeForce Now to play Rogue. If 6 was in Stadia with hopefully Stream Connect, right? How sick would that be? But all right, so let's get into Resident Evil. And Chief, this is one of the reasons why I wanted you on here, right? So you, first of all, kudos to them. We got a demo. I know y'all grilled them for not getting Outriders, so kudos. We can sit here and say kudos. They got a demo. But let's talk about the resolution because that seems to be, I don't know, to me personally, I think it's impressive. The fact that, Jerry, you've always said, right, you can't play anything less than 60 FPS. So the fact that they tried to bring this at 4K, I know it's not true 4K, it's upscaled, but again, it's 60, and I'm sure you guys are going to test the hell out of it. But just want to check in with you guys. I see Chief smiling. Check in with you guys to see what are your thoughts about, first of all, Stadia again the support day one. Second of all, again the demo. Third of all, again trying to hit 4K 60 in this platform. So I'm gonna open it up to you, Jerry. What's your take on this?
Well, I think less people would care about that if so much 4K 60 hadn't been promised for so long. So every time this comes up now, it's like this sour taste. We have been getting dynamic resolution, dynamic 4K, upscaled 4K from consoles and gaming for some time. It's not a new thing. I feel like frames are more important. They're going to be more important no matter what the game going forward, 60 and more, especially competitive. But I'd rather be 1080p 60 than 4K 30 any day. I don't personally have a big problem with the dynamic and 4K upscaling if it's done right and if the 60 holds. If it creates performance issues and stutters because it's not switching dynamically properly and you're getting these huge spikes, there's going to be issue. And that's why Chief said he is waiting to see and is concerned about the performance of Village on Stadia, because we've seen games run super good and we've seen games run horribly. So it's hard to tell. The whole resolution wars, they didn't mean anything to me in 2013 when Xbox One was 900p and PlayStation 4 was 1080p. I didn't really matter. My console and my TV upscaled all that anyway to 4K, and sitting 12 feet away didn't really make a big difference to me. You're going to notice these things if you're right there at your 4K monitor or right there at your TV more than anywhere else. I know some people that literally can see the dynamic switching when they're playing games, when they're that close to their monitor, and I have to really struggle, like, really? And catch it. But I'm not as concerned as most people, but it has to hold 60. It has to look crispy. And if the 1080p looks and runs better than the 4K 60, then I'm going to have more issue with it. But it's also going to be hard too, because we're going to be judging this on the demo a little bit, and then the game's going to come out. And I hate that, because we're going to do all this work with this hour access that we have. I know Chief will be on there getting all his stuff recorded. I'll be trying to do stuff, and then like a few days later, the game's going to come out, and we're going to be like, well, we got to do all that again. And so that kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm not super concerned about the resolution, but I got to see the performance and the frames that stick with that dynamic resolution. And how high? Does it ever hit 4K? Does dynamic 4K just mean they try and never get there? Because Series X, it's like 1945p on Outriders, and it's 4K dynamic. So we got to see.
So let me ask you this question then. How would you grade the Resident Evil 7 port? Do you feel like that was a decent enough port?
Well, they were shooting for 4K and didn't get there. Most reports are like 1200p to 1400p. They do try to hold the 60, but I've played the game a good bit to test it out, and while it does hold it sometimes, there are times it does not. The anti-aliasing sharpening in that game, like her eyelashes look like she took this thick white eyeliner and just put it on, and then they just traced out the rest of the game with all the sharpening. I have a huge issue with all of that white outline on everything. Like if you look at my comparison of Luna 1080p 60 to Stadia's 4K, well, streamed 4K 60 1440p base that they're trying to hit for that game, it just doesn't look as good to me. It's crisper, it's clearer on Stadia, but the actual graphics of the game and the sharpening and stuff, I think they could patch it. I think they could fix it, to be honest with you. It's just too much for me. It's distracting when I play on Stadia, but it does tend to hold the frame rate pretty well, but they didn't hit the resolution they wanted, and that sharpening's got to go. They got to get something going on with that.
Dag, this was another game that I put on, and I was like, yo, this game runs so good at Stadia. I swear it's like I'm missing something, but
you're not a big PC and console gamer though. Like,
true,
you know, I Chief with the 3080, you know, I have the 2060 still that needs the upgrade, but it still does beautiful ultra set. I can still, you know, run great settings and everything. You're not really into all of that. So like for people like me or Chief, we would never probably cloud game as our only gaming. You know, but if you're looking at it and you haven't played on anything else, it's going to be a great experience. So when you see people say, "Oh my God, Resident Evil for me on Stadia was amazing," well, guess what? That's great, and I'm glad it's amazing. It means you didn't play it on PC and you didn't play it anywhere else, and that's why. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's going to be different depending on what kind of gamer you've always been when you jump into cloud.
It's kind of like the argument when it comes to music, right? Where people are vinyl fans or they're digital fans, or they like with the tube amps that cost like $2,000 or something like that to experience it. I think that gaming is kind of going through something similar, where you have people who are perfectly fine listening to music on Spotify, but then you have that other side that it's like, no, we want the most clear, the crisp, original sound that we can get. And that's kind of the conversation that I think, at least that's what I'm taking from this conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'd be closer to you listening to your Spotify music through a £50 speaker, that you bought at the shop versus like a Sonos.
We've mentioned this before, because my display, I don't care for like high frame rates, like refresh rates that actually monitors have. I'm the type of person that goes, well, at least my panel's got peak brightness and great high definition range. And I'm like, so if the Stadia Resident Evil 8 got amazing HDR and upscale 4K, of course I'm going to say that game looks gorgeous.
Yeah, that's Holtz, we get along so well, man. So I should like move my screen closer to you and move Chiefs and Jerry's closer, because I think we think alike. That's how I am too. Like
we should show them the HDR peak brightness, and they can show us the FPS.
Yeah, I have it. I got the 65-inch peak brightness HDR right here. My Series X
say this in the videos, right? When I play it on my TV, 4K Chromecast Ultra, I think, damn, this looks really good. And then I put it on my computer to do the editing and go, oh, no, it doesn't. Because the TV shows so much difference to PC monitors. And if you game on a PC monitor, even 1080, it could be perfect 1080 quality on Stadia or any other system, but you will notice that it's being streamed very quickly and clearly versus a local version. And that's where you'll see PC gamers go, it doesn't look great, and we got all these issues. But if you go and play it on your Chromecast, on your 4K TV sat 4 feet away, it's going to look great. But if you put it on your monitor, even at 1080, you are not going to see anything near as good. And that's always been my hang up with Stadia, is I can't play it on Chrome. A lot of the time, I will try and wait and go and play it on my TV, because if I play it on Chrome, I just think this looks horrendous. And
So-
that's with any game.
So none of us are going to do a comparison on mobile, Resident Evil 8 Stadia mobile. just
Maybe.
Because it'll look great on that. But on PC monitors, it
And
really doesn't look great. And
that's a good point by Chief too, because a lot of people don't realize that even their cheapest of TVs they're buying these days, 4K, they are doing things with the CPUs, with the hardware. They are messing with your image. They're enhancing the image. I don't care what 4K TV you have, it's happening. And with PC gaming monitors, ain't none of that happening. And we're running at like 1 millisecond latency, and that's why you're dying in Call of Duty and Rogue when we're playing against you.
Listen,
as far as the
I love you guys, but you guys are too technical, man. You know what I'm saying? Just put the game on and enjoy the game, bro. So, yeah.
just open up, go and play it on Chrome, right? Go and play it on your TV. Use Stadia switching and just start it in your Chrome browser. Okay, stay exactly where you are and walk from your TV to your monitor, and you'll go, oh. That's all you need to do. Now, as far as Resident
I guess
Evil,
for me, I just don't do that. I just play the game. I'm just a gamer, so I just
PC gamers will naturally play on PC because that's the norm for them, and that's where you see that such divide because we can't get to our TVs.
Well, and I guess for me, I don't really do a whole lot of like, even with like Stadia, like I have I can do GeForce Now, I can do Stadia, I can do all this on my TV, but I tend to like everything I do is on my computer. So, but I don't really look at the technical. I used to when I was younger. I used to, and and I just kind of got out of doing all of that because I couldn't keep up with the hardware to keep making everything look really nice. So I just gave up, and I was just like, I'm just going to play the games. I don't really care anymore. If it runs, then I'm happy. If it doesn't run, then I'm not playing it.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it now.
Sure.
But this game is going to define the service for me this year. Bringing Capcom Resident Evil 8 day and date to Stadia is a big thing to me. If I play it and it's broken, or I see like the frame rates drop really bad, then I'll be complaining a lot. This game is going to make the service for me this year.
Well, and that's the big thing that I've got.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say
Go ahead, Ben. Chief,
I was just gonna say I was just gonna say that was my thing, like comparing with Resident Evil to Stadia. I said the same thing about, I know everybody was excited with like MLB The Show coming to Xbox, but I said if there's the slightest issue on whether it's the console version or the Xcloud version, doesn't matter, the slightest issue, people are just going to riot, go crazy with complaining. Like it has to be, because it's the first time that's been on the platform. It'll be no different. Like I could see that if there's any issue whatsoever with Resident Evil on a day and date like that, the slightest bug, it's going to be up. There's just going to be so much uproar. People are just going to be up in arms. And we already saw, look what happened with the early access to the show, with people on hitting Twitter and all of the issues that were popping up. I mean, granted it was early, but that, to me, they're the same thing. You have a big title game come to a platform, one issue can make or break that game.
Well, and I think that this is something I'm talking about on tomorrow's show. So spoiler alert to anybody. But essentially, it's kind of cool because we're starting to see Stadia's MO, right? They're launching day and date with Resident Evil, along with PlayStation, Xbox, PC, everywhere else. They're trying to repeat the success that they saw with Cyberpunk by offering that same package. Yep. And when the resolution came out, the comparison, Stadia outperformed the PlayStation 4, not the Pro, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One, which are still primarily the more popular consoles of that generation. Yes, the Xbox One X did well, but the S and the original Xbox One sold more than the X, and the Pro didn't sell nearly the same amount of numbers as the PlayStation 4. The storm that we're seeing here and that Stadia could capitalize on is it's really hard to find a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X still. So if Stadia can really hit that standard and say, hey, can't find a PlayStation 5, but you want to have that experience, buy it on our service, and we're
Yeah.
going to send you a Chromecast where you can stream it at 4K on your TV. That's the niche that Stadia could start having some success throughout the year. And if that's what their MO is going to be, dude, I'm in. Like, let's go.
Yep. When I heard about, sorry, Chief, when I heard about Outriders, right, when they were promoting it, right, the whole same day release, getting it at 4K, right, 60, I know 4K 30 if you want to call it that, but giving you the different modes of performance and visual, and then also add in Stadia features like stream can. I was like going for it, right? This should be like the standard same day release, add in Stadia features and making it the best version, quality and performance wise that they can. That can definitely draw some crowds from people who can afford or find the next gen console for sure. But Chief, let's give you the floor, man. I know you probably have a lot to say.
Outriders is one of the reasons why I'm really nervous about Resident Evil, is because Outriders should have been the next Cyberpunk for Stadia, and it wasn't. It was far, far from it. It's not a great experience if that's what you were looking for. Now, Resident Evil, they've released the resolutions across all the systems, and this is the other thing that's got me nervous, is they're pushing 4K 60 with dynamic frame rate, right, on Stadia?
Yeah.
Not going to happen. PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have got kind of dynamic resolution, but it's 4K capped at 45 frames per second. So it's getting better than 30, but they can't hit 60. So if the Series X and PlayStation 5 can't hit 60, Stadia's got no hope.
The 45 is with ray tracing on, though. It's 60 with ray tracing off.
60 with off. But with ray tracing on, it's capped at 45. So if they can't push 4K 60 with ray tracing, Stadia has no hope of hitting 4K 60 without ray tracing.
But again, we're having a conversation of there's a sect of gamers where that matters. But then there's also, hey, I just want an experience that's better than my PlayStation 4 or my Xbox One. You know, I think when I look at that list, I think that's a, you know, I think you're guaranteed to have a better resolution and experience if you're streaming that locally, because I think streaming is a little complicated with stuff like that. So the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, but at the same time, hey, there's two narratives there. It's hard to find a PlayStation 5, and also you got to go shill out $500 to get that, or you buy it on Stadia and you can play it on Chrome and they'll send you a free Chromecast.
That's what I mean. They need to set expectations. Don't say 4K 60 when it's not going to be able to hit that.
But they put note. They specifically put note. 4K is upscaled during dynamic resolution.
Right. Where's the HDR?
Yeah,
is there no HDR for this game on Stadia? That's disappointing.
That's been confirmed.
Okay.
So PlayStation 4, there's 4K 30 and 1080 60 as well. So that's, you know, what they're going to be aiming for. But again, you know, that's what they pushed for
the
same
PlayStation 4 is 900p, right?
PlayStation,
or you talking Pro?
900p. Yeah.
Pro.
No, Pro is 4K HDR 30 FPS for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But how
again,
many,
lowering the bar.
They have two PlayStation 4 Pros here. When set to high. Okay, my bad. Yeah. Carry on.
The high res mode. Yeah. So they obviously tried to do the same thing with Outriders with the high res and the performance mode, but again, they couldn't hit those figures even with the high performance mode and things like that. So that's why I'm really nervous about Resident Evil, because Resident Evil has far more eyes on it than Outriders did. Even though I think that Resident Evil is a far more niche game, I would have thought that Outriders actually had more wide appeal, but obviously Capcom and Resident Evil has a massive following.
And here's the problem. If this game comes out well optimized for Stadia, any game going forward after this game, we're going to look at the developers and say, why can Capcom do it and you can't? And so it's going to put a lot of pressure going forward on our expectations.
Well, it's gonna set a standard.
Yeah,
they're going to have that. That's going to be the new standard to like every game.
Doom already set that standard. Why can't everything run as good as Doom? I mean, Doom looked and ran fantastic, and we've not seen any game hit that kind of standard since. Outriders should have been that game because they've had all the experience of all the Tomb Raiders and Final Fantasy and all that on the platform, so it's not even like it was a new title for them, and it wasn't. So all eyes on Capcom for this one.
I think you have to look at the devs too. I mean, again, someone brought it up, I think last podcast, but Square Enix ports have not been the greatest in Stadia with Marvel's The Avengers, right? And then you look at EA. I would say EA is doing better with the ports with Star Wars, and then you saw what we got with Madden and FIFA. I would say those were excellent ports. And from what we've seen with Resident Evil 7, I would go as far as to say that was a solid port, right? And so to me, I'm just going to say this. If they can match the performance quality from Resident Evil 7, I'll take that and I'll be happy. I thought that game ran well and looked great and it felt great running. So to me, that's my standard. But I know y'all, for that week, you guys should just not do any comparison. just get it on Stadia and enjoy it on Stadia. And then next week, right? Just compare it on the other.
But that's unfair. That's unfair, Ace, because then Chief and GTP can say, "Well, next week you do the comparisons, and then come back to us a week later. We'll take a break. We'll play games, and you do the comparisons."
Right. No, but
and I think it's important to kind of remember is that I don't think that this is going to be a Cyberpunk moment for Stadia because Cyberpunk came out unbelievably broken on other platforms. Historically speaking, Resident Evil games on PlayStation, Xbox, there's very little issues. So I think that this is really going to come down to number one, how Stadia paints that narrative. For me, the reason I'm buying it on Stadia instead of my PlayStation 5 is I just don't want to have to deal with the install and putting it on my hard drive and playing that same old dance. That's the main reason I'm picking it up on Stadia. Plus, I get a free Chromecast, I guess. But
and a controller. If you want.
Yeah, exactly. One more.
One more to add to the collection, right?
But cool. So let's move on. We still got some. Go ahead.
Just quickly, I was going to say I'm going to stay away from the demo because I put a tweet out to Stadia because they said it, and I just said, "Well, what demo is it? Is it the castle demo or is it the full finished game?" And he just said, "Please speak to Capcom." I was like, "Oh, you haven't told us which demo it is?"
Capcom said it is there's as I'm understanding it is there's one demo and then inside of it you have the castle and the village. So there's two separate areas you can explore. That was the way that I understood it. So when you're going into the demo, you can go explore the village section, or you can explore the castle. So I think it's going to be the same demo that everyone else is getting, but you have to choose what you want to do within that allotted 60 minutes of time.
Yeah, and they don't even release at the exact same time. The castle and the village. There's different schedules for them.
Yeah.
And also, PlayStation gets it 2 weeks ahead of everybody else, right?
PlayStation got it this weekend, right?
Yeah, they got it now.
Yeah.
But the other thing that, again, it's more down to the marketing, but also what hidden messages are behind this, is if you look at all the demo times, Stadia's not listed. So what version is it getting? Is it getting the PlayStation version? Is it getting the Xbox version or the Steam version? Because under the times that are, because PlayStation has its own time window, Xbox has its own time window, Steam has its own time window. What time window is Stadia actually under? Because it's not on their website. It's on their website as it's going to be on demo, but the times for Stadia don't exist there. So that's one of the other things that I'm a little bit concerned about, is what version of the game is it actually going to be? Is it a very specific one and they don't want to give us a time window? We just got to go off of what Stadia is kind of telling us from the side. Why is it not on their main site?
Well, and I guess the other side to close out this narrative on Resident Evil is to remember Stadia paid some serious money for this game to run. I think what was the number? $100 million for 7 and 8 to come to the platform. So if you think about it from that perspective, Capcom really needs to come to the plate, because it's like, dude, we paid you $100 million to bring this game, and this is what we got.
This better be the greatest game. This better be the greatest game that you got that has ever been made.
Yeah.
The amount of money that they shelled out.
If Duncan was here, he'll say, I think one of the requirements of this deal was to make it 4K 60. Right?
Yeah, so that's what the
why.
leak said. Is the leak actually had certain requirements that they had to hit in order to get paid out the full 100 million.
Yeah,
or 10 million. Somebody in the chat said 10
yeah,
million. Yeah,
10 mil.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. So let's move on. Thank you guys. Wow, a lot of input for Resident Evil and Stadia, but it's almost here, so we'll see. And again, Chief and Jerry, take a week off that week and enjoy it in Stadia. But let's go to Xcloud. Touch controls came to how many games? 5, 6 games. Good games, right? So we have Battle Chasers, Night War, Double Dragon, Wreckfest, Overcooked 2, Killer Queen Black, and Banjo Kazooie all got touch control support. And then we got one game, and I promised Ben before he left that I gonna display this game. He wants me to show it to you guys. It's called Rain on Your Parade, but apparently he's enjoying this game, so we'll do a little trailer. But just want to check in with the panel members. What are your thoughts on this game coming, and then also the touch control support for Xcloud? So to get started with that, Vet, what's your take on these games?
I think we kind of touched on it early on, but the touch control for like something like Banjo Kazooie is pretty good.
Right.
It gets better. I don't have Xcloud. I don't have Game Pass, so I don't usually dive into any of that stuff. But I think with like Double Dragon, that's going to be another good one to add on with just any. I like the game anyways. I played it. I've played that one plenty of times on PlayStation and Xbox. So, but to do it with touch control is I think it's easier for people that play games on mobile. I don't really know because I don't do a lot of like the console stuff on my phone, so I'm not really one that's going to be able to give a great opinion on something like that. But it's good to see that they're starting to roll more things out like that.
Yeah.
More options for how you can play your game.
True. I'm wondering if you guys are not familiar with Microsoft, but they make a device called the Surface Duo, and it's like a smartphone that has 2 screens. And lately they updated it to where it pretty much becomes like a Nintendo DS, to where on one screen you can see the screen, and then the bottom layer is the touch controls. So I wonder like if this is something that they're trying to do to like market that device as like a portable handheld Xcloud. But anyway, quite interesting.
It would be, yeah, that would definitely be interesting. I was always intrigued by the Surface Duo when Microsoft came out with it, and then when I saw the specs, and the intrigue and enthusiasm went away real fast.
Right.
Because I was just like, oh, I love Microsoft. You got my hopes up again, just like you had with Windows 10 phones, and then sure enough, you just crushed them.
True. So, yeah, let's check in with Jerry. What's he taking this news for Xcloud this week?
Yeah, Xcloud's doing the best work with purposely made touch controls for their games. And what I like also seeing is they're not just doing them for Xbox exclusives that aren't ever going to leave the service. They're also spending the time to do it for games that have time contracts. And that shows really good support to those developers and to the gamers. And once again, Xbox continues to be super consumer focused and gamer friendly, and treating developers really good. So that's why we're seeing them do so well right now. But yeah, it's a great thing to see the touch controls come. They're not generic. I really like that. The Duo update was great. You don't have to cover your screen. That's my thing with touch controls. I hate when your thumbs are, you're hitting the screen. Even when they're purposely made, it's annoying. I'm not a big mobile gamer anyways. But no, I think it's great, and I like the support that it shows for everybody there.
True. Brian, what's your take on these touch control games and the one game?
I mean, that game looks fun. I was distracted by like all the different animations and blowing up people and raining on them, and it just looks super destructive. But I think Xbox, this is something I've been thinking personally, but I think, if you were to break 2021 at this point and ask yourself who's having the best year, I think in many ways Xbox is kind of leading the pack, and a lot of that has to do with them acquiring Bethesda. But I see them making the right steps, and adding touch controls to these games is a great step. And I got to assume that this is just becoming a feature that they have internally that developers can just hit the switch button, and it allows them to kind of operate that. And I think what's key for Xcloud in the future is to allow me to stream games that I buy. I think that's just kind of the obvious next step and what I'd like to see from the platform.
Yeah. Once that happens, man, I think, it's performance. Get the performance up, and then be able to play pretty much any game you buy from the store on Xcloud.
Well, and the thing too is that, like, I think they're still stuck at 720p. Which, if you think about it from a mobile phone perspective, that I don't really care if a game is at 4K on my mobile screen. But when they're starting to talk about having TV dongles or moving to, web browsers or stuff like that, that's where I think you need to start getting into the 4Ks and the 1080ps of stuff like that.
True.
Well, I think the biggest thing for xCloud they just need to get is upping it to 1080p, because I mean, like you said, 4K. How many people are really concerned about 4K on their phone? If I was using xCloud, that's the least of my concern. I would much rather see 1080p be the next phase before I could care less. On a phone, like if it was a TV app, I would. There's no way I'd question it. Obviously, I would want it in 4K, but for a phone, I don't see that. I think the next thing they need to do is they really need to get it, especially if you're getting more and more big time games. You definitely need to get that up to the 1080p standard.
True. Yeah. Hopefully we see that soon. We saw the PC test app that it pulled down, right? So hopefully we know that they're working on that. So we'll see. How about you, Holtz? What's your take on these 5-6 games with touch and the one game?
Well, of course, I love the idea of bringing more touch compatible to games on mobile, but I don't play on mobile. I play on a larger tablet, which I classify as my mobile device. So I'm going to look absolutely stupid holding this big device up like that, trying to play these games. So to me, it's not practical in how I play cloud gaming.
Yeah. Now that you said that, I wonder if they're trying to target the mobile, because again, we talked about how big mobile is, right? Mobile gaming. So I wonder if they're trying to, who knows how they're going to market this, but imagine 6 months down the line, they're like, all right, play xCloud games on your mobile device instead of playing, watered down mobile games you can actually play, console quality games with touch controls type deal.
Well,
actually, hold on. I'm going to go grab something while you guys are on this topic, because
the perfect device I ever played was called the Xperia Play. And that was
Sony.
It slid off the screen slid off the case and actually provided a small form factor control layout, and that was amazing.
That was good.
It's a shame that no one's actually bringing that out these days to actually promote cloud and mobile together.
They have these Chinese companies, GDP and I forgot the other one, but they're trying to make something similar to that, where it's a screen and has controllers attached to it, and keyboard and all that stuff. But
so if I could jump in real quick, we're talking about mobile gaming and controls. Personally, my experience has been that cloud gaming touch support, on Stadia and Xcloud, it doesn't feel like the same as when you're using PUBG Mobile. And this is actually a controller that got sent to me for PUBG Mobile. These are gun triggers right here.
Ooh,
and
nice.
This button is where your fire button would be. So when you're pressing it's actually giving you, which completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
But
but it looks cool.
Really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's cool, huh? Chief, what's your take on these news, man?
First of all, I didn't care for Rain on Your Parade, but now I've seen it, I'm actually quite intrigued.
Okay, I was going to say Ben might be upset there.
I was going to say, don't rain on our parade.
But as far as mobile gaming is concerned, I'm primarily a PC gamer, so playing on a little tiny screen really doesn't interest me very much. Having the touchscreen controls for some of those fun little time waster games, definitely a huge bonus. And I think the big bonus that Xbox have got is all their games support the Xbox One controller, right? So it's quite easy for them to map that controller to some custom layouts for those. And we've seen some really good implementations of those custom layouts for the 2 or 3 buttons that you actually only need for that game. So they're well optimized for being able to play them. As far as them consistently doing that, I think it shows that they are investing the time and money and effort in their cloud infrastructure and mobile gaming. Now, I would love to see it hit on iOS, and we definitely want that 1080 increment for tablets. I think you do notice that 720 a bit more on tablets, whereas on normal phones, even the new iPhone 12 Pro, I can't really tell that it's a 720 upscaled image because my phone is so small. But on tablet, I think you would notice that. And on PC, we definitely notice that. So I think that is definitely the next iteration. I do just love what Xbox are doing. They're slowly rolling out extra features. Nobody expected or asked for custom touch controls for mobile games, but they've gone and done it as a nice value add. Now, I'm not sure whether it's a recent addition or I just missed it, but Cloud now has its own section on the Newswire site. I'm sure it wasn't there last week. So they are putting Cloud now front and center alongside all of their other offerings. So I can see, I don't think it's, I can't remember the word. The fact that all of our beta codes for the PC test app stopped working after an update, I don't think was an issue with popularity. Microsoft have got a history, if you actually look back, of leaking codes, leaking things for wider tests, unofficial tests. They just don't turn codes off as a general thing because they take the feedback behind the scenes. It's very well done. If you want to look back at the history, especially on Windows, there are so many cracked versions of Windows out there that they could just turn off, but they don't because they want you using it. And they want you using it because they can get that data. So I think with iOS 14.5 due literally any week, and I have a feeling it's going to be next week, looking at their beta things, those codes stopped working because something else is coming. So I'm very excited to see what happens in the next few weeks, especially once iOS 14.5 drops. So
Yeah.
I think we're in for a treat. But
in that video they did, they said it's coming very, very, very soon. 3 varies means it's gonna be here like in no time, right? So I think you might be onto something there for sure. Cool. All right, let's hit up the shadow news. Not a lot of time, but I did want to cover that, and I'm just didn't study it much. Hell Monkey did the video, but I know Jerry covered it too, so I'm gonna defer this to you. Update the panel, update the viewers on what the hell is going on with this company.
What I said is what's going on is we're still kind of waiting to see what's going on. We know we're down to the 2 bids. We know it's in the court. We know the judge is going to make his or her decision on can a bid be accepted, and if so, what bid's that going to be. For some positivity to the Shadow community, it has continued to be communicated that anybody that buys Shadow at this point does want to continue the service, but that could change. And we also don't know what that means. We don't know. Most people predict price increases because the company hasn't been profitable. And the last number I heard is they need 800,000 subscribers as a minimum to be profitable.
Whoa.
So yeah, there's still a lot up in the air that we don't know. I think April 30th or a few days after, that's like the deadline when the decision is going to be made. We're going to have actual more realistic news as to who's buying, if anyone, and then what's that vision look like. And if they are going to continue Shadow, are they going to dump enough money in to get these frickin' activations caught up for people that are even waiting till 2022 right now?
Right.
Are they going to get Shadow Boost upgraded in some form or another because it's dying fast? Even we used to just say the CPU was the problem. Well, we're getting to the point where the GPU is a problem and the storage is a huge issue and games are getting bigger. While I think the other two tiers can survive a little bit, Boost needs serious attention. The activations need caught up. So to me, there's still a lot up in the air, but I'm trying to stay positive because so many people want to see this survive. So hopefully they find a way to.
True. I'm still here, y'all. Still here.
He's gone.
But no, thank you for that update. And it's good to hear at least they have two potential people interested in. And from what I'm hearing, right, then their goal is to keep things the same. So they're not going to take Shadow at its current form and turn it into just like a Virtual PC for enterprise, right? They want to continue the gaming aspect of it. So that tells us that hopefully they'll continue to push, right? Getting better graphics card.
I want to hear it, Chief, because my faith
is
not
go
quite
ahead.
there.
I'm going to be the negative one here.
Do
and
it.
I think
Oh boy.
Shadow's dead. In 2
Oh
weeks'
my
time,
goodness,
it's
Chief.
it's either completely gone or it's going to be a shadow of its former self. To put the bun in.
No way. They have
the
two
companies
interested
that are
buyers.
bidding. Yeah, they have two interested buyers in the tech. They have no interest in the consumer market.
No, that's not what the
That's
article said, though.
Nah, that article doesn't say. Really, it does not. That is PR speak of, they have said since the beginning, and this wording is the one that tells me that it's a start of a new era, one that does not entail anything that we have done to date. It's a new chapter, not consumer. So I think just be wary, be prepared for the worst, because when companies like this get bought out, they're all fine up until the signature hits the dotted line, and then the truth comes out, because they didn't want to scare anybody. They didn't want to scare the buyers. They didn't want to scare the money that they've got coming in at the moment. That's just about keeping them afloat and giving them their worth. If they came out a month ago saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, guys, we haven't been profitable for the last 5 years. We're going bankrupt, and hopefully somebody buys us and bails us out, and everybody cancels the service. They're now worthless. Nobody's going to buy them regardless. So the tech is going to be picked up for scraps from the administration agency. They have been on autopilot, trying to keep everybody calm and happy, and in 2 weeks' time, that's when the real news will hit."
Holtz, I see you shaking your head.
No, I totally agree with Chief, because that's what my biggest fear was. Either one, they go bankrupt, or two, they force me with the price increase that I'm not willing to pay for a subscription for the quality that I'm getting. So, and I wanted to leave 2 months ago, or 6 weeks ago, but I thought I'll stick in here, stick in. They took 2 more payments off, but this I have to make a decision quick on how this is going. I can't go
It
to
is good,
30.
Patrick. We can't fault it. Shadow's got the best
Shadow's
virtual
got the
PC tech out
hands
there.
down, hands down.
But
It's going to be sad, and I think Duncan was saying like last week too, how many people are dependent on this, right? Being their only consoles. Like imagine students, right, using this to do their school, and imagine like business people using this to run the business. I know Duncan was saying he uses this to stream, right? So yeah, and Mark, right, before he became, this literally was his tool for editing, uploading his videos and all. So it's going to be
the reason why nobody else has replicated this, because they are bleeding money. It's not profitable.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's our Shadow update. Again, thank you, Jerry, for updating the people with that news. But let's close this out. Give members a chance to just let people know where you can find them and what they do. So to get started, Jerry, where can people find you, sir, and what do you do?
Yeah, at Game Tech Planet on Twitter and YouTube, Cloud Console and PC. I try to do daily videos, though it's difficult, and me and Chief apparently compare too much.
You do. No.
It's our job.
But what do you do, sir? Where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and YouTube, Stadia Vet Gaming. As you can see by all the advertisements behind me, I do a little of everything. Stadia, PlayStation Now, well, I will dive into the Xbox game streaming when they have an app or web-based version, whatever that may be. GeForce Now and Luna, whichever side it's on. And then I'm on the Stadia Bash Community Network on Tuesdays and Fridays, and Cloud Station TV on Wednesdays.
So tell people
all
more
over the
about
place.
the Stadia Bash Network. I think that's pretty interesting. What's going on there?
The Stadia Bash Community Network is that we have like 40 plus streamers that stream an hour. They have hour time slots. It's like a television network. That was the idea around it, and it's Monday through Friday. We have people from the U.S., Belgium. We've got a streamer from Germany, a lot of UK streamers. It's just all over, and it's all Stadia specific content that we stream.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. Definitely check that out for sure. Check out Vet, man. Awesome guy for sure. Thank you for being here, Vet. How about you, Brian? Yeah, absolutely. Brian, what do you do and where can people find you?
Yeah, people can find me on YouTube at the Nerf Report. Trying to pop out. Oh, I think it's 2 videos a day at this point, which is a little overwhelming. But yeah, gaming news, cloud gaming news, PlayStation, Xbox, Luna, Stadia, whatever you want. We pretty much cover it there. And then on Twitter, my name's right there, Bryant Chappelle. Yeah, hit me up on Twitter.
Yeah, great, amazing content creator, man. If you guys haven't checked him out, yeah, good stuff for sure. Check him out. Also, just to let you, I'll add you, Vet, in the description below. Brian, you on there because it's so last minute, but I'll add you there. But everyone on here, you can find the links in the description below. Right. So, Holtz, what do you do, sir, and where can people find you?
So I'm just a cloud enthusiast, and you should get me on Holtz86 on Twitter. Come and say hi, or have a debate, or tell me what games you like, and let's go from there.
Cool. And we had Ben here. You can find him again. Links in the description. He pretty much is on everyone's Discord, and he's a cool guy. Check him out. And then we have Gamer TV, who's going to be a new guest in the panel starting next week. His link, I think, is in the description. If not, I'll add it. And then Mark, as you guys know, his stuff is in there as well. But yeah, Chief, do you want to plug in?
Apparently, I make too many comparisons, and now you know why I generally am not on the podcast.
So look, that's 2 comparisons already we've had since we said it.
Oh man, but yeah, no, seriously appreciate the work that you and Jerry do, man. It's a lot, man. They have you guys seriously have. It takes like what 2, 3, sometimes 5 hours for you guys to get all the footage that you need, and the breakdown's ridiculous. But you guys are dedicated, so
that's why I stick to gameplay. That's why I just stream games. That's all. It's way easier for me to do that.
Well, with their comparisons over multiple devices, they should be masters at these games by now. So.
True. But yeah,
Ace, can I say one more quick thing?
Sure. Yeah.
So for everybody watching Friday, if you tune into my channel, the Stadia Bash Community Network, it's at 7 p.m. Central. We have a major announcement that we'll be making.
Nice.
But I'm not a privileged. I don't have a high enough classification to give out any more details. But just stay tuned in because it is a nice groundbreaking announcement that we'll be dropping.
He's awesome. Getting a tattoo.
And we'll tweet that out too, just when that goes live. But
I will get the tattoo. I will live stream that when you live stream playing doing some breakdancing.
Oh, there you go.
That's happening now. It's happening now.
That's awesome.
That's an easy solution for me.
But man, good stuff. Good conversation. Appreciate having you members on here for sure. Awesome panel today. And for the viewers, appreciate you guys watching. We'll be back next week. We don't have a guest yet, and I might not be here. And if I'm not here, either Chief or Monkey, I know I'm putting you. Putting you on blast, Chief. But either Chief or Monkey is probably going to continue it. But appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. And we'll catch you guys next Saturday. Until next time, peace out.